Hi guys, up till now we have been printing simple hello world messages on the screen, but that's not what we want to do if we want to develop large React applications. In large applications, a proper structure, proper configurations, and the proper file management system needs to be followed. So there are a bunch of JavaScript libraries, JavaScript frameworks that we can use to configure our files, because there can be many CSS files, HTML files, JSX files, and simple JavaScript files as well. So in order to use all those libraries and frameworks provided and by the for using in the React applications, we are gonna be using Webpack. As I have already explained you Babel CLI, how to use that, what is the purpose of Babel. So Webpack is another JavaScript framework that can be used for automating different tasks for managing our project. So first of all, in order to work with Webpack, I have opened and created a simple project. It has nothing inside it, and in my terminal I'm going to create a few React package. First of all, you need to download Node in your system. So in order to download Node, if I search Node.js, then you need to download the latest version of Node, and along with Node it is coming with npm, stands for Node Package Manager, and Node Package Manager handles and can be used for installing, uninstalling all the dependencies that are required for our React applications. So if I write npm -v, it's going to show me the version of npm installed in my system. If it doesn't show anything, it means npm hasn't installed along with the node. So it will take some time. It will show me the version of npm that is installed. So I have the latest version of npm, that is 3.10.9. we have npm installed. Now first of all, we need to have something called package.json file. Package.json file contains all the dependencies that are required for our applications. So in order to create package.json file, I'm going to write npm init. So it's asking me what is the name of my project. So I'm leaving it as default. Press enter for default version, no description. Entry point is our index.js, test command, and git repository, keywords, no, license, and y. So I have initialized it and created the package.json file. You can see that package.json file has been created within my project along with the name of my project with the default settings. And after that, we need to create a bunch of other libraries and frameworks that are coming along with Webpack. So in order to work with it, as we know that we are working for the React application, so we are going to be installing React with the help of Node Package Manager. Earlier we have been including React file in index.html file, but right now we're not going to be using. We need to follow a proper structure. So in order to install React, I'm going to write npm install React space React dash DOM -- save. So press enter. It's going to take some time and it's going to install these two dependencies, React and React DOM, because we need React and React DOM for working with React application. So it's going to install in our new folder. So let's wait for it. I'm going to explain you once it's done. So it has completed installation. If I check out my package.json or reopen this file, you can see that it has created a new property called dependencies, and it has created React and React DOM along with the versions of React and React DOM within this file. And where are these files exist within this node underscore modules. So it has created all these files that are required for working with the React and React DOM. So if we So what is the purpose of this package.json file? Why it has created these dependencies within this dependencies property? Actually, when we upload our project to GitHub, or we want to give our project to anybody else, we don't give this node_modules folder because it is a pretty much large folder. Instead, we give the package.json file along with the other files of our project. So what other people need to do if they want to use our project, they just need to write npm install. So what that command is going to do is that command will check all the dependencies that are written within this dependencies property, and it's going to create node_modules folder in their computer, and it's going to install all these libraries within the node modules folder. So that will make our project pretty small if while uploading it on GitHub or giving it to someone else. I hope that you have got the idea. Now we need to install and download few other libraries just like Babel, Webpack. So I'm going to write npm install Babel space Babel-CLI space Babel-core space Babel-loader space Babel-preset-es 2015 space Babel-preset-react. And lastly, I need to write hyphen means -- save. So press enter. It's going to install all these dependencies in our node modules folder as well as in our dependencies properties. If I don't write hyphen save, it's not going to add these libraries in dependencies property, but it's going to add those and install these dependencies within node_modules folder. It's always good practice to write hyphen save because we want to keep reference what is installed within node_modules folder. So you can see that it has installed all the dependencies, Babel, Babel CLI, and all that I wrote in that command. It might not show suddenly in this file. It might take or you need to refresh this file in order to show up, but if you go to node_modules, you can see that all those dependencies have been downloaded and added within node_modules folder. Alright, and right now we have installed all the dependencies. At the end we need to install Webpack and Webpack dev server for running our React application. So I'm going to write npm install Webpack at 2.1.0-beta.22, and after that Webpack -dev-server at 2.1.0-beta.10, and after that I'm going to write --save -dev because I want these dependencies to be in the dev property because it is only required for the development but not at the build time. So press enter. I have installed a specific versions of Webpack. Make sure you install the same versions because if you don't write @versions, it's going to install the default version of Webpack and web dev server. It might create some problem in order to run your React application. So it has installed Webpack and Webpack -dev server within the dev dependencies property. So we have installed all the dependencies. Now we need to go and create our files and write our first hello world application. It's a kind of hectic job at start, but it is recommended practice of creating a large React applications. So I'm going to right click project, new JavaScript, and I'm going to name my file entry. click OK. If I go back to package.json file, you can see that the starting point is index.js file, because I just carried out with the default npm init settings. I need to change the name of my file same as that I've just created. So I'm going to change the name, that is entry.js. Save this file. I need to create one more file, and that is webpack.config.js, and this file is going to contain all the configuration, what is the starting point, what is the ending point, what is the output file of the React applications. So within this file I need to write few lines of code in order to work with it. So I'm going to write var config equals to, within this object I need to define a property called entry, and I need to give the path of my file, which is the entry point. So I've just created entry.js file, so I'm going to write ./entry.js, and this is the starting point of my application. After that I need to create a property output, and it contains an object, and within this output I need to define a property called path. So the default path of our application is our main project folder. So I'm going to write __dir name, and after that I need to write file name. I need to create this file name, but before that let me tell you what this output property does. In React application we have bunch of JSX files. So one thing that makes React application pretty fast is that it convert all those JSX files into one JavaScript file, and that takes less time instead of all those JSX files to be executed. So that's why we need to define output property, and we need to define the output.js file as a file name that we need to create now, and at the time of build it's going to convert all the JSX files into this file, and that will make React application pretty fast. So I'm going to right click my project, and I'm going to create output.js. So it has created output.js. I'm not going to be using this file for now, because this is not the time to build. We need to cover the basic concepts of React. So after the output property I need to define dev server. So I need to define a property inline true, and what is the port? I'm going to keep the port 8080. You can change it if you want. So after the dev server property I need to define a property called module, and within this module property I'm going to define another property called loaders. If you remember, I added the dependencies Babel loader, and it required this property within this webpack.config file. So inside this loader file I'm going to give the path of all the JS files that I will be creating for my React project. So I need to first define the format of all those files. So I will write test / dot JSX question mark, and we need to write $/ comma. Okay, and after that we need to give the path that what files needs to be excluded. We don't want to include these node modules files at the time of loading, so we need to write node _modules /, and after that query no, we need to write loader, and the loader is our Babel, because JSX files needs to be converted into JavaScript. So we need to define what library will be required to convert these JSX files, comma, and after that we need to write query. Within this query we need to write presets. Within an array we need to write ES 2015 and React. Actually there within this loader array all these properties should be within these objects, because array doesn't have the key value pairs, so I need to cut and paste like this. So error has gone. Now just after that, within another object I need to give the same thing for my CSS files. I'm including these later on we will be writing our CSS code, so these objects will be required. So this is not JSX and this is our CSS, and we don't need exclude right here. And in the loader we need to load up style dash loader exclamation mark CSS loader. I'm not going to be using because I haven't installed and downloaded these dependencies yet, but I've just set it up my webpack.config file. So that's been done. We have created our config object. Now we need to export this config object to be used and at the time of running our application. So at the end I'm going to write module dot exports equals to config. So that's been done for this file. It was at the start it is very hectic, but this is required. Make sure you remember all the port and the entry point file, output file that we have written right here. Okay, so what we need to do now, we need to go to our entry point and we need to include few packages that are required for running our application. So in order to include different packages, we need to use import keyword React from React and import React DOM from React DOM. That is from. Now before writing anything inside this file, I'm right clicking my project and I'm going to create a new HTML file and I'm going to name it index, and I'm going to change the title React app, and inside the body tag of this file I'm going to add a container. It has an ID, let's say app, and inside this container I'm going to print out hello world. And after that I need to add a script reference of my output file that I'm not being using right now, but later on I'll be using that output file. So let's save this file and I'm going to create another folder inside my project and I'm going to name it src, and inside this src folder I'm going to create a file first.jsx. I'm creating JSX file because I have already told Webpack config that I'll be giving you JSX file right here. Okay, so it's need to convert this JSX file into JavaScript file, and this is alright. So let's come back to our first.jsx, and inside this file I'm going to create a component. So in order to create a component I'm going to write import React from React, and I'm going to create a class. So this is first extends React dot capital component, and I'm going to create a function render and it's going to return an element, hello world, and after that I need to export it default first. Okay, so that's been done. Let's save this file. Now let's come back to our entry.js file, and inside this file I need to get the reference of this class that I've just created. So this entry file is going to execute at the start of application, so all the components should be initialized, should be imported from within this file. Okay, so I'm going to write import first from src slash first dot jsx. Alright, and after that I'm going to render react DOM dot render, and what I want to render, I want to render this component that I've got the reference within this variable. So I'm going to add this first within these characters, and after that I need to print out everything that is being returned from here into this div. So I need to use the get element by id function to get the reference of this div. So I'm going to write document dot get element by id, and id is app. Alright, so let's save this file, and the last thing that we need to do is we need to set up our starting command, that how we can run our project, how we can run this application that we have just created. So I'm going to remove this test property. Instead I'm going to add another property called start, and it's going to run Webpack dev server. So I need to give it Webpack dev server hyphen hot, and hyphen hot will automatically reload our application if any change occur, instead of reloading our web browser page. So let's save this file. I'm going to open up Chrome, and let's come back, and I'm going to write npm start. So it's going to execute this command because this is being stored in this key, and it's going to run out first entry.js file. It's going to bring up these libraries, it's going to bring up this component, and it's going to print out this component within this index.html. So let's wait for it, and it's going to run our application. It has shown me an error. There needs to be an appropriate loader to handle this file. So let's come back to our webpack.config, and I needed to write question mark after JSX. So this was an error. Now I'll come back to my terminal and Control C to end my compilation and run npm start again. So I'll press enter. So you can see that Webpack compiled successfully. So our application is running. Now we need to go to our Chrome browser, and I'm going to write localhost colon 8080. So you can see that it has printed out hello world in my browser screen that I have just printed within this div. So that was it for this video. In the next video I'm going to be extending this component, that how we can add multiple elements in this return function, how and what are the various restrictions that what we can't do and what we can do. So stay tuned and see you in the next video.